Welcome, everyone, to another fantastic evening of Crescent City Signal, the game where we uh, punch fascists in an alternate 1986 New Orleans. Um, Before we get
Yes.
started, as a content warning, Sigmata is a game which takes place in an alternate history where a fascist government is ruling the United States. There may be depictions of state sanctioned bigotry, violence, and brutality. Any similarities between current events or living persons is purely coincidental. Viewer discretion is advised. So, how has everyone been since last we played? I feel like it's been a hot second.
Yeah, these last 2 weeks have gone by really fast for me, and I do apologize to everyone. Everything that it could have gone wrong in my life has kind of did go wrong, and I'm still like about 75 editing episode 2 for the audio version.
Okay. No worries. Yeah. I hope that things align themselves better for you.
Yeah, they're gonna get
Yeah.
better.
And in the meantime, we get to play this awesome role playing game. So, Don, how have things been with you?
Mostly pretty steady. It has not been going by fast for me.
Hmm.
It's mostly just been work and going through the normal grind. But we're here now, and I have a lot of reasons to want to punch fascists now. So definitely excited to get to that after all the fucking news week that we've had.
Oh, it's been disgusting. Yeah. The thing with the international shipping treaty is really like irritating me.
What exactly is that? I
S-
didn't hear anything about that.
okay, yeah. So the president of the United States, whether legitimately elected or not, wants to pull us out of an international shipping treaty that is like one of the oldest treaties that we've been involved with and makes international shipping to a lot of places not exorbitant. Um, it basically allows packages from overseas to be able to use the U.S. Postal Service when they get here, and allows our packages to use various national post services overseas. And I might be oversimplifying it or simplifying it in the wrong way, but I do understand that pulling out of this treaty will make international shipping much more expensive for small businesses, and a lot of tabletop books and components are manufactured in China and other places. So it's gonna make like board games more expensive, and
That's gonna be a disaster.
yeah, and like in the last like month, I've received like two different books, like one from South Korea and one from England, and like yeah, I definitely like take advantage of international shipping. I'm just like,
I think everyone in the country has, at some point in the last year.
oh yeah, oh yeah. So that's like been at the forefront. I'm sure there are many other awful things that are happening that it might be kind of shitty to ignore or not consider in light of this particular thing. But this particular thing is like what's been pinging on my social media most often in the last like week or two.
Yeah, and also the murder of the Saudi Arabia journalist.
Well, he's a U.S. resident, which is like, yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
that
a Saudi
that's
Arabian U.S. resident who
yeah.
was murdered at the consulate.
With let's not go into the grisly details of that because that's
No, no, no,
definitely
no.
awful. But yeah, that a lot of shitty news, a lot of shitty things in the news in the last you know 2 years, but also in the last week. Chad, tell us something happy, please.
Something happy. All right. My wife's back from travel before I have to go on travel, and so everyone's here at home.
Okay, that's always
which is
nice.
fantastic. You know, that feels pretty good. It's a small thing, a little local win. You know?
Hmm. Yeah, so yeah, the reason why we missed last week was because I flew out to St. Louis to visit my older brother for his birthday. So yeah, family time is like awesome. It's really good to get out
Yeah,
there and
that
see him.
that's it's always good to see your family when you can.
Oh yeah. I find it really interesting, like the things that are similar between St. Louis and New Orleans and things that are different, because they were both originally French colonies, and they both have fleur-de-lis everywhere. But in St. Louis, they have things like brick buildings and basements, and the cost of like rent and food is a lot cheaper, and people are a little different. It's like, I guess, like saying that different parts of the country are different and similar is sort of a non-statement, but I always find it interesting to observe.
Agreed.
Well, all right. So, when last we played, what happened last time? Does anyone want to give a quick recap?
We learned that a local musician by the name of Isaac Junegrass had returned to New Orleans after spending years abroad, including some time in Berlin, and discovered, unfortunately, that he was facilitating a Soviet plot to get party members to join the resistance and inform on us to the Soviets.
Yes, that is what happened. But then you uncovered this dastardly plot and ratted him out to Resistance HQ. Or I should say, you exposed this villainous plot to Resistance HQ. And then things were differently worse than they would have been if you hadn't.
Correct.
Okay,
But
so
it caused us to lose one in loyalty to the party.
yes, but if you hadn't have stepped in how you did, you would have lost two to international community, which would have dropped your signal strength. So it may be good that you picked how you did. You chose how you did. So yeah, one of the interesting things about the system that I've observed is that like the way that factions advance or don't advance feels very random to me. Like at the end of each strategic phase, you pick a faction and you roll to see if they misbehave or not, or if they ask you for a favor. And if you do a favor for them, then you get more loyalty. You get more loyalty with them, or they become more loyal to the resistance, and then less likely to misbehave. But if they misbehave, and you do something to correct it, then your loyalty with them goes down, and then becomes less likely that their loyalty will ever go up again. So I'm wondering, this is just me like using as a game designer, but I'm wondering if it might be a good idea to like work in getting more faction loyalty to the outcomes of resistance or even regime actions. To say like if you can maneuver the fiction of one of these missions in a way that heavily involves a faction, it might be worth bumping up a loyalty point.
Yeah, and I was also going to say that just in terms of like overall storytelling, it would make logical sense for us to like do favors for factions somewhere down the line, even
Yeah,
just to build the loyalty and keep the coalition as intact as possible.
Yeah, I mean the game's designed, I think, is intended to make players make hard decisions about whether a faction's loyalty is worth losing something on the coin tracker. And I think that's an interesting question, but I think, like, there's also different stories you could tell with different mechanics. Anyhow, so going back to sort of how the strategic phase works, the first step is responding to a regime action. Then the group has an opportunity to launch a resistance action. Then you do a faction loyalty test, and either do a favor for a faction to increase their loyalty, step in to prevent a faction from misbehaving, or you can skip doing either and go right back around to the regime action. So it's a cycle of missions. And since we finished a faction fallout mission last time, today you'll be doing something that involves a regime action. So I want to highlight Shades at the start first. So Shades, how has your experience in the last session, like, has your experience, like, ferreting out this Soviet plot changed your outlook on the resistance at all?
I think it's like further complicated and muddled, right? Like Shades like thinks he should be here and thinks there's something profoundly just wrong and inhumane about the regime and his parents' complicity with it, but is young enough to like not fully grasp everything and so privileged. I don't think he thinks he's confused, but I think things are more confusing for him and he doesn't realize it. Like now he's like, oh, well, maybe there is a way to like, expose the real commies and get them out of here, but also be a cool resistance member at the same time. Like his jazz dance failed, but then he threw money around and it succeeded. Like he continues to get away with receiving all the wrong messages about his successes. And I think that's the only remarkable thing about his success so far is that it hasn't caught up with him yet. So as a player, I'm fully expecting Shades to just have like a horrible, like, oh, that's the reality of my choice. Those are the actual consequences. But he keeps kind of like finding ways to do outrageous things, thinking like that's what receivers do. Like receivers just do outrageous things and not really understanding the full spectrum of what receivers do and have chosen to do since they became receivers.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, I dig it. So
Shades is gonna have to figure out why he's really here. You're basically saying.
Well, he's gonna have to become like disillusioned with why he does think he's here, which is like being supported by his experiences, because he just can't interpret them any other way yet. But yeah, for him to like survive and be like someone who's able to sustain participation in the resistance, he needs to get to the humanity of it rather than the outrageous performative aspects of it that he keeps getting away with.
Okay. Right on. So
or else you can just like, he can be crushed by falling something, a piano, when a new character comes in.
And then someone throws an APC and it lands on Shades like a safe in a Looney Tunes cartoon, and
Right.
and he's a receiver, so he might actually survive that. But yeah,
Signal's not up.
Right.
But when that APC does fall in him, He will have just taken off his coat to brush some dust off of it. And while the ABC will land on him, his coat will land safely nearby.
Oh no.
And then someone else will pick it up and continue.
Okay. Concerned citizen. Did you write a news story about Mr. Junegrass? And if so, what details made it into it?
I did write a story about Mr. Junegrass, and it was pretty sad when I told the sad truth that he had been turned, and that he had been, that he had agreed to, get his fellow musicians in the Louisiana area to be loyal to the Soviet regime, which sadly is the only thing worse than having them be loyal to the American regime.
Okay, so you like burned him in the press.
Basically. I burned him. I burned him because the last thing anybody here wants as resistance members is for our movement to be co-opted by anyone else for their own gains.
Okay. Right on. So Montag, while not compromising the resistance with Soviet money is definitely a plus. The talk among the musicians in the city has been somewhat demoralized. Probably, like, within 24 hours of Concerned Citizen story being published, Junegrass was collected by IOPS, the regime intelligence organization. And there's been, like, an aggressive campaign of street musicians being, abducted and whisked off to a white room to be questioned and then spit back out in the complete wrong neighborhood. And so how has Montag been dealing with the increased pressure on the musicians in the city?
I would say that Montag would be trying to approach that a lot more subtly than Concerned Citizen. Instead of just outright blasting our Soviet spy there, he would instead be turning the conversation towards the regime and talking among some of his fellow musicians and fellow of his other buskers about they need other people and look out for them when the Freedom Fist comes knocking. They need a source of protection. They need a sense of community, so that way they can't just come down and take people in the middle of the night and that's it. We don't see them again. In his own way, he's trying to use his guile to convince them more towards the idea that the resistance is on the right side in this, and that clearly the regime is against our community. Our community should therefore be much more aligned with those who are opposing the regime.
Right on, right on. Okay. So, Shades, in the last, week, you have noticed, sort of an increased Freedom Fist presence, in Uptown, where the universities are. There's been, pretty much an APC parked on the south side of St. Charles Avenue, right at Audubon Park, which is directly across from the universities.
Okay.
And there have been, increased APC patrols down the streets that are wide enough to accept them, and, increased mounted, on horses, Freedom Fist, which is unusual to see in that part of the city outside of, Mardi Gras time, which is months and months and months away. How would Shades report that to Resistance HQ, or would they?
Oh, probably like recklessly. I mean, what's my boy's name? Midas?
Yeah.
I mean, probably just like more like ill-advised cell phone calls to Midas, or like if Midas is really on him about the cell phone calls, he probably will like just borrow a friend's cell phone,
Okay.
and then and there's not call tracking, right? At this point, there's no like block this number. So
Yeah, yeah. Not to my knowledge. I think Midas would
so
like have to like. No, not for cell phones. I don't think so at all.
yeah, I think he's gonna be like Midas. I've got the perfect plan. I'm just gonna use someone else's cell phone every time. Which is horrible because
Yeah.
it's just like turning over
Yeah,
his entire
because
social
it still
network.
has to go
surveillance.
through a switching station somewhere
Yeah.
where they could
Yeah.
intercept it. If it's still all going to Midas, for sure. Yeah, I think he's very.
And they can just monitor Midas's phones.
Yeah, exactly. Because Midas isn't using a different cell phone every time.
Yeah. Now it could be. Are we in? Do we have pagers yet?
I have no idea. I think so.
All
I
right.
think pagers
just
would have
say that.
had to come before cell phones.
It could be that Midas like works out some stopgap that's not as bad, and they do something with pagers and like a small code that Shades is willing to remember. So he goes to like one out of let's say 5 different payphones, depending what number comes through after the first numbers from, or depending on what number comes through from Midas or something like that. But nothing. If there's anything more secure than using his friend's phones, it can't be that secure, or else Shades is just not going to really remember it or
Right. Yeah, I think probably after this interaction, Midas would take you aside and like give you a pager and arrange.
Sweet.
Yeah,
Sweet.
and I just want to say from a fact check,
coming up.
yeah, I just want to say from a fact checking standpoint, it's entirely valid to use pagers at this point in time.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah, I think they're mentioned somewhere in the book. I just don't remember.
All right.
Off
So
the
let's
top
say
of my head.
Midas has access to like a number of different maybe offices and phones between like other businesses in his law firm's building, or like across the street, and does what he can to maintain a discipline to only contact Shades like in a randomly distributed order between them.
Yeah.
And Shades' half of the deal is like, yeah, okay, I'll go to, if I see this, I'll go to that phone. If I see this, I'll go to that phone. Or they could double mix it up and he just goes on a progression of phones whenever he gets a call and never uses the same one twice in a row or something.
Okay, so you get in touch with Midas. What would you tell him about this uptick in fist activity?
Well, Shades will definitely be like, Midas, do you think they know? Do you think they know about me? Like, why else could they be here? What's going on? What's going on, Midas?
No, if they knew about you, they wouldn't come in with a kill team with chemical lasers, and they wouldn't bother parading mounted police around campus. No, that sounds like something else.
Well, it's not even football season, and it's like neither football season. It's not Mardi Gras time. Like, are they recruiting? Are the professors communists too?
I mean, probably they're in academia.
He just nods, even though he's on the phone.
Yeah, there's that like. He's assuming you're nodding, like it's a sort of like unspoken joke.
Yeah.
No, I'll try and get in touch with Samaritan. He knows more about the university area than I do. Thanks for
Do you
calling.
want me to
us in.
do you want me to take him out?
No, God no, not yet. No, get the other receivers and get to Resistance HQ, or get to, he says, some code word rather than Resistance HQ. He probably says, like, get to the warehouse or something.
Yeah.
No, bring your friends out to the warehouse, and we'll talk about this.
Sweet. I'm gonna put on my coat, peg my jeans, and put on those Oakley frogskin sunglasses, and go into like full shade super spy mode, which is probably the worst, most
which is actually very conspicuous.
You could have,
yeah,
for wherever Concerned Citizen and Montag hang out. But I'll go looking for my team.
All right.
I'll let them know what's going down. I'll be like, Midas says we got to get to the warehouse.
The warehouse?
The warehouse.
There are quite a few, especially if you go to the warehouse district shades.
Do you remember the code? We got to go to the warehouse.
Ah, the warehouse.
Did he ever tell us about this warehouse?
I'll like go to Montag, get real close to his ear, just be like, HQ.
Okay.
Collars pop.
All the time.
Okay, so.
Oh, that's gonna be Shades' like, instead of Avengers Assemble or whatever, he's gonna be like, pop your collars, team. Like a lasagna of terribleness. Just I'm gonna keep adding layers till you gotta deal with them.
I find it really interesting that like your super spy outfit involves wearing a London fog coat in the middle of summer. Because
all the best spies are British. Everyone knows that.
Receivers don't sweat. Also, I guess they don't. They're robots.
Absolutely not.
Yeah.
Totally.
You're totally fine in like sweltering 90-degree humid as fuck New Orleans in June in a trench coat. It's fine.
Yep.
So I assume that you all make your way to the warehouse.
Yes, I would say we go to the warehouse.
Okay. So you get there and it's in a bustle of activity for like the number of people that are normally there, which is to say that like all of the resistance leadership personalities are present, and like there's also probably like 2 or 3 folk from each faction, just like some are manning landlines, and there's like one person with like a Morse code set up, and there's definitely someone from the old men who is like has a crowbar and is opening up like this big wooden crate that he like opens it up and it's full of M16s, or actually probably like AR-15s, but some hardware being opened up. Mayday is on one of the phones, and she looks like really haggard and worn out. Y'all can assume that she's been having a hell of a time keeping the party like on track since June grass was burned. And y'all have probably like Montag and Concerned Citizen at least have probably heard a lot of rumors about like lieutenants and like other players in the party wanting to like get clear of the city. I think they're afraid that June grass is going to burn, like is going to talk and burn other people in the party. Samaritan and Sutherland are like poring over a like a highway map that they've stuck a bunch of pins in, and you can see that like the pins are all like clustered around the uptown area. And Midas is on his cell phone with his like briefcase open in his lap in like a folding chair. It sounds like he's talking to some sort of like smuggler or supplier. He's like talking in like very like poorly veiled code language about you know, like hardware. Like it sounds like he's trying to like bring more guns in. What do you do?
I go over to Midas and Samaritan and ask what they're trying to pin down.
Yeah, it's Samaritan and Sutherland.
Oh, Sutherland,
Yeah.
Midas.
Yeah.
Yes, Samaritan and Sutherland.
So yeah, Sutherland gestures, and there's a bunch of those little red like push pins that are surrounding the university area, and there's some yellow ones that are stuck in. You can see they're stuck into the Audubon Park area, and he says, "Well, it's clear that the Fist is been gradually ramping up their presence in the university area. In addition to the mounted troops that Shades noticed, there's buildups of APCs here and here." He like gestures to a like vacant lot, or the what you know as a vacant lot on South Carrollton Avenue, and another area that is like an abandoned church building further down St. Charles. Additionally, there's been some cargo trucks entering the park near the zoo and offloading some cargo crates. I think they're setting up a temporary detention center on the golf course. And Samaritan nods and says, "I've made some discreet calls to my contacts in City Hall. It sounds like the Fist is ramping up for a purge. We suspect that sometime soon they're going to surround the universities and get rid of dissident elements that have not yet been let go."
So by dissident, I assume they mean left wing.
Samaritan nods and says, "Yes, before I left the academy myself, there were a number of my colleagues, as well as some across the fence, who were vocal enough to get noticed, but not quite vocal enough to get fired. I know there was also some student groups that have been making zines." He says the word zines, he's not quite sure if he's getting it right, that are somewhat subversive.
Oh, of course not. We can't have any student-run newspapers on a college campus, now can we?
And you see Samaritan looks a little confused, like he hasn't put together that a zine is anything like a newspaper. And he says, regardless, I don't know if there's a way we can stop this from happening, but we might be able to try to get some of them out before the hammer falls. And he looks at y'all expectantly.
Well, we have one college student in our ranks right now. Shades, can you think of anyone at your school that the regime might want to just capture and purge in the middle of the night?
So Shades didn't go like quite over with you. He's been bugging Midas about what Midas is doing, but hearing his name, he comes back over from his code talk with Midas, and is like, I don't know, like, you know, sometimes you get like one of those professors, and they're like spending most of their time talking about regime this, regime that, and you just kind of tune them out, and just somebody else is writing your papers anyway. You just go if you can't miss class and whatever. But yeah, I can think of like 3 or 4 that I've had in the past like 6 years who might fit that bill.
In 6 years?
Yeah, I mean, how long did college take you?
I actually didn't go to college.
All right,
I couldn't afford it.
It is better. It is better when you can pay people to write your papers. That's what I hear.
When you say that, Samaritan looks like he wants to like hit you upside the head. Since I think y'all have probably like clued into this by now, but Samaritan is definitely a former Jesuit, or even a present Jesuit, who used to teach at the university. So like his academic integrity alarms are like going off in his head, and he's just like, oh, these kids.
Or just like this kid.
This kid, yeah, this kid. So, yeah, Sutherland is reviewing the map, and he says, I don't know how much time we have left. We can... I'm hesitant to launch a full-scale counterattack this early in the game, but I'm not seeing a whole lot of other options.
What do you mean by full-scale counterattack? Are you considering the option of engaging the regime in open combat?
And he like looks up and makes eye contact with you, and he says, what other option is there? Hundreds of people, maybe more, will vanish forever if we let this happen.
Well, that sounds simple to me. We just don't let it happen then.
And Sutherland nods and says, right. And how do you propose stopping at least 24 APCs from converging here? And he, puts his finger down on the map.
Is there any way to waylay or delay them? Any sort of choke point they would have to cross through? Bridges? Poland's got tons of bridges.
And Sutherland shakes his head and says, no, they're already across the bridges. They're already in Uptown. I mean, this is barely he gestures to the build-ups on the map. This is barely a 5-minute drive from Ground Zero.
So what you're saying is that this could be happening right now.
It's probably going to happen within the next 24 hours. We're monitoring police channels and phone lines. We'll know when it happens, but there's not a lot I see we can do to prevent it.
I have probably a really dumb idea. And it's probably better than engaging who knows how many Freedom Fist officers in open combat. But hear me out. What if we were to somehow get ourselves captured by the Freedom Fist and somebody from Resistance HQ follows in a car, and when they figure out like where they're taking us, they set off the signal and we stage a breakout.
You want to let yourself be taken prisoner with the students and faculty the Fist will be targeting.
We could probably save a lot more if we could actually stage some kind of counterattack / breakout at whatever detention center they'll all be taken to.
And Samaritan scratches his chin and says, I'd be grateful for your support, but I'm hesitant to let you take this greater risk. If they can jam the signal, or I feel like it's putting too much in the regime's hands, but, and he looks at Montag and Shades, if you think that could work, it's worth a shot.
Well, like, where are the, like, I mean, we could do it, but, like, are there like any, like, are there gaps anywhere? Like, could we go, like, are they up around behind Mid-City?
You mean Uptown?
Yeah, like, yeah, are they north?
And Sutherland puts his finger down along Claiborne Avenue, which is sort of like the northern bounds of the university area. And he says they already have plenty of build-up here. And he gestures to the neighborhoods that are north of Claiborne. These spots are problem areas already, heavily patrolled. That means the people who live there are sick of regime boots and willing to maybe help us blow a hole in their blockade. And it's sure easier for us to move our people through here. I was thinking that we bring our people in down Broad. He sort of like gestures and hit him from behind, or from above, so to speak. But I don't see a way to make that happen without getting really noisy. And the makers have provided plenty of hardware, and the old men and the party have plenty of bodies willing to use the hardware. We have the manpower to pull this off, but it's going to tip our hand to the regime how built up we are in the city.
Yeah, and there's our next problem. Even so, we succeed, then the regime is going to fight us a lot smarter.
Samaritan nods a bit and he says, this is true, but the end game in the city was always going to be open violence at some point. It's naive to think otherwise. Now we can try to make it so it's not as bad as what happened in San Diego. But sometime, eventually, we're going to get backed into a corner, and we're going to have to show our teeth.
So let's take a vote. All in favor of inciting an uprising in these problem areas, please say aye.
Aye.
I mean, I guess there's no other like. I mean, we can't do like we did with the building and like draw them off somewhere, and then you guys come up behind them. Like, you want us in the middle of it, or you want us somewhere else?
The problem here is that with the building, we were dealing with a regime installation that wasn't effectively being used yet. There was hardly anybody in there. This time, we're going to have the regime is ready and willing and able to use whatever prison they're using. So it's not going to be that easy to get in there.
I just mean like they fell for a little of the old, smoke and mirrors last time with that emergency act. Like, what if we, I don't know, what if we like hit the bridge or hit the naval base or something, and then they have to turn around, and then like, boom, Samaritan just like comes up from behind.
And Samaritan scratches his chin and says, that's risky, but that could work. And he like points at a point on the map that's like it's way far away from the university area. It's like it's across the river in Algiers. And he says, with the build-up at the universities, there'd be hardly anyone left to guard the main Freedom Fist base here along the river.
So last time we went up to we had this plan to go up to the front door, right? But what if the city was the building and the front door was the base or the bridge?
Cause a big enough noise at their center of power, and they'd have to pull back their forces at the university.
And then you could chase them out and just take everything from the university down to the river.
Sutherland nods and says that could work. It's risky. If the timing's off, then it could be a real shit show. But it would risk less than a straight-up fight.
Well, also, you know what I mean? If things get a little chitty chitty boom boom, it's probably better to do it in the naval base than in the middle of the neighborhood, right?
He nods.
I've been listening.
I like where your head's at.
Just the shades.
So just so that I'm on the same page, your idea is to just hit them at their center of power. And get
we come out of a helicopter or something, yeah, right down in the middle of Federal City and just do our thing, you know what I mean?
I guess.
What if you were doing jazz, but your trumpet was a bazooka man? That's what I'm talking about.
Well, I like your way of thinking, but if we go up there in a helicopter, an unauthorized helicopter, they might shoot us down before we can get close enough to actually do something.
Helicopter's a metaphor, man. I don't care. You all figure out what it is. I'm just saying, if you want to put me there, we can blow stuff up. It could be a boat. Probably couldn't be a train. Maybe.
And like
We could
Midas,
do that van thing. We could do the van thing again.
so
Like,
Midas,
they haven't figured out the van thing yet. That's all I'm saying.
so Midas like does like this with a cell phone and says, I don't know about a helicopter, but I can definitely get you an amphibious vehicle.
I don't know what that is. That's great.
And
I
Midas,
think like a boat or a submarine. Have you learned anything in college?
Have you ridden in an amphibious vehicle much?
and Sutherland says like it's like his eyes sort of get distant, and he says it's more like a truck that's a boat.
Truck boat, man. I dig it. Just get some bazooka trumpets from my friends here.
Or we don't even need to use bazookas. Let's just load it up with enough TNT and set it on a course right towards this base. Remote detonate as soon as it makes impact.
I mean, Sutherland, scratches his chin again. I think that's like his like trademark thing. Is he has a really itchy chin. Sutherland says, "Well, it all depends on where we want to use the signal. We could certainly have some boys load up one of these ducts with explosives, put a cinder block on the gas pedal, and ram it into the naval base. That might be enough to draw away some of the APCs, but I think to really get the result we want, we need to launch some sort of more sustained attack on the base. We need it to be an ongoing disaster that demands military response, not just one explosion."
So we have to fight. We have to go up and pick a fight.
I don't see what else could draw away 24 APCs.
Oh.
Anything too small, and they won't commit enough force to the response.
I'm gonna like look at their map and be like, oh, I didn't realize there were like, there's like 2. What if you have that guy drive into this one, and then we go after that one, and
So,
they have to go to 2 places.
I'm not sure I follow.
Well, so like, isn't this thing an air base down here?
Sorry, I'm actually not looking at the map. Let's look at our map. Okay, so there's the naval base here in Algiers, right?
Yeah, and then if you go across the river and go southwest of like Timberlane or like southeast from Belle Chasse, you get to an air base.
Are you looking at the same map I am?
Maybe. No, I'm looking at a different map.
Okay. Yeah, I know there is an air, like, out of character, out of the fiction, I know there is an air base nearby, but I don't know, like, how close it is and how feasible it would be for y'all to get there in time to make this happen. The naval base is actually, like, almost closer to
It's
Resistance
9
HQ.
miles as the crow flies.
Yeah, but it's across the river, and like that 9 miles can take a long time to get to.
Oh yeah, I'm just saying
Yeah.
it's on the same side as the naval base.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
the-
yeah, yeah.
All that Shades was suggesting was that the guy with, if they're gonna have a truck full of, if they're gonna ram something with explosives,
Yeah.
they could do that at the air base.
Yeah, so yeah,
and then attack the naval.
yeah. I mean, there's also a marine facility in Bywater, I think on Poland Street.
Mhm.
So there's like two targets that are pretty close to each other. Also, the Air Force,
Maybe.
the Air Force
yeah.
base probably has its own garrison that would be separate from the forces in the city.
That's a joint naval base, I think. But yeah.
Yeah.
Whatever. Shades is just excited. Cooler heads can prevail.
Yeah. So just to summary the situation, the regime is going to purge the universities sometime in the next 24 hours, unless either there's a direct counterattack or there's some other attack in the city that draws the forces away. An alternative plan has been suggested by concerned citizen to sneak the receivers in with the students and faculty who are being purged, to later, like, launch a signal-powered prison break. So there's like three different ideas on the table. Which do y'all find most appealing?
Well, as much as I like my idea, there is one thought I do have that, and this is just thinking about the aftermath, even if we succeed and we stage a mass breakout, all these people, they're not going to be able to go back to their old lives. They will have been arrested, they will most likely have been photographed and processed. The regime will be able to find them if they start living normal civilian life again. And not all of these people are necessarily activists. They just might be somebody who might have said something critical about the regime once upon a time, who then got informed on by a patriot and not necessarily willing to take up the fight. So I'm kind of withdrawing support for my plan in favor of staging like an attack somewhere in the city to divert their attention.
Right. And in terms of like acceptable targets for the resistance, I think that the naval base in Algiers is probably the best, since it's like actually a military target, and not like a civil building of some sort.
It does have a lot of like neighborhoods around it though.
Yeah,
whereas that airbase does.
So that's sort of just how New Orleans is, though. Like, there isn't really a spot in the city that it doesn't have some sort of residential aspect.
Just saying that airbase.
Yeah, like I said, I think it's a little too distant. It would have its own garrison that is more of a like Southeast Louisiana force than a New Orleans force.
Yeah. All right. Well, if it's got to be the naval base. It's got to be the naval base.
So, yeah. So Sutherland nods after some discussion. He nods and says, "All right, we can get with Midas and talk about this amphibious vehicle he's got. Send our big guns to tangle with the naval base. Meanwhile, we'll have the party and old men operatives we have in the field come in behind as the fist is rolling out and exfiltrate as many folks who are at risk as we can. And Samaritan nods and says, if they don't do the purge today, they'll do it next week or next month. The people they're targeting have already been identified as targets. They're refugees now, I guess.
Then we have another problem. We have to get them out of this country.
They look to each other, and Samaritan probably says that may not be possible. The fate many of these people would meet if the regime got their hands on them would be deportation anyway. We can't risk the resources it takes to get them out of the country. We can move them somewhere safer. There are other places in the city, other places in the state that are no-goes for Freedom Fist that they would be temporarily safe in. I don't know where we can send them outside the US where they would be accepted. Some of the academics could maybe find jobs in France or the UK, but these places are officially the allies of the regime, even if they don't approve of what they're doing here. For them to accept political refugees would be a political mistake. I don't know any way we could safely move them outside the borders of the country.
All right, then. We'll just have to... They're just going to have to worry about that.
Samaritan nods and says, times are hard, but God will provide. And Sutherland rolls his eyes, looks so that Samaritan can't see when he rolls his eyes. Well, we have a plan. Any preparations you need to make beforehand? He says, and he looks at y'all. Time is somewhat a factor here.
Well, if we're going to engage the regime in open combat, I'm going to need some better weapons.
And, Midas perks up, and, he's finally finished his cell phone conversation, and he says, well, what do you need? We, just got in some new hardware. As you can see, he gestures at, the opened boxes of M16s.
One of those M16s would be nice, for starters. Some grenades. Some grenades would also be very helpful. And bulletproof armor.
Okay, he nods and says, I don't know if we have any flak vests, but I think there's a case of grenades somewhere. And I actually have the ordnance page bookmarked for reasons. So yeah, I don't think that the M16, unless you have the ups saved to get a new peripheral, which you could now, I don't think the M16 will do anything special, aside from being a fictional element to combat scenes.
Okay.
Let me see if grenades do anything special, though, for
do.
receivers. I know, I was just looking at them for NPCs, but, a hand-thrown anti-personnel bomb designed to inflict massive damage in spaces that cannot be easily reached with direct fire. A grenade is ineffective against vehicles, but when used directly against personnel, a grenade applies exposure to 2 combatants or all combatants inside a strong point. Okay, so yeah. I think that there is a crate of grenades, probably enough for each of you to take 2.
Sounds good.
And like I said, the M16, you can make it a peripheral if you want, but otherwise it'll just, like, provide the fiction of you having a machine gun.
Well, my pistol's an automatic, so if it's not going to do anything for me without having to purchase it, I'm gonna pass on the M16.
Okay, yeah. It's like there aren't special rules for guns that aren't like heavy machine guns or lasers. So it's either a peripheral or it's not.
Okay. And speaking of just upgrade points, how many did we get for the last mission?
Right, you got 11 for the last mission, because you lost that loyalty with the party. So yeah, in general, each mission gives you ups equal to the sum of all party loyalty.
Okay.
And I don't have the cost for things bookmarked. But does anyone know off the top of their head how many ups it takes to get a new peripheral?
I'm looking for my PDF now. Is it 10?
Yeah, peripherals are 10.
Okay, then you know what? I'm going to spend them. 10 to get the M16 peripheral.
All right, and what tactic is it going to be a peripheral for?
I'm going to say aggression.
Okay, so that's going to be Storm.
Yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense. I think it would like be Storm or Suppress for sure.
All right, so let me just write that into my character sheet here. And done.
All right. So once y'all have been issued with any additional firearms or grenades that you require, I think Sutherland like finishes nailing down the details of the exfiltration plan with Samaritan, and then he and Midas take y'all to the action van, and Sutherland says to Midas, well, let's see this amphibious vehicle you've got. And y'all file into the van, and like as you're peeling off, you see that like there's a couple of pickup trucks that are all peeling away at the same time, that have like sort of army style covered tarps, and you like catch a glance from inside of like a bunch of old men, not actually elderly people, but the people in the old men faction, in like hunting camo with M16s. I see them peeling off towards the direction of Uptown. So Sutherland drives y'all to a spot in the Bywater where the Mississippi River meets the Industrial Canal, which is nicknamed the End of the World. Sort of called that because this like little triangle is just like surrounded by water that just sort of feels like it's the end of the world. And sort of parked up on the levee there is this like World War II era amphibious truck. It's the sort of like thing that they used for like the Normandy landing. And Midas says, believe it or not, this thing was slated to go in a museum. It took a bit of, casual bureaucratic malfeasance to make it disappear, but I figure we have more use for it than regime propagandists. And he sort of gestures for y'all to file in and says, well, good hunting.
Thank you. Hopefully we'll come back alive.
That's the spirit.
We will.
So the big question I have is who's driving?
Who wants to drive?
Montag will drive.
Okay.
I was gonna say, Chase probably wants to. I don't know if y'all want
No, Montag will not let Shades drive.
Yeah, Montag's from Cajun country, right? This
He
thing
is.
doesn't drive too different from like the kinds of boats people do
span boat.
swamp. Yeah.
Yeah.
I want to say like a tourist boat, like
Gotcha.
the kind of things people like do swamp tours in. So yeah, and it's pretty much a straight shot across the river to the naval base. And like you get into this amphibious vehicle, and you see that there's like a couple duffel bags that have already been like tossed into like the driver's area, and when you check them, you see that like they're full of dynamite, and there's a little note inside one of them that says "For the good times," and it's signed Sutherland.
Aw, he remembers.
Oh, sweet.
All right, so what do y'all do with your amphibious truck full of explosives?
Well, the question is, what's the safest side of this base to take it to?
So
Where we'll be least likely to be shot down before we can get close enough.
So Sutherland implied that resistance intelligence indicates that the base is on like a skeleton crew right now. Given that it's like land forces mainly that have been diverted to Uptown, it might be better to like cross the river into the neighborhoods surrounding the base and then come at the base from land. There like might still be like patrol boats on the water. But also they're on a skeleton crew, so even the resistance you might pick up on the water probably isn't like too much to handle.
All right, then we'll go with that.
So which approach are y'all taking?
The latter one.
They just like going straight across the water?
Yeah.
Okay. Right on. So you drive this duck, for want of a better name, into the murky waters of the Industrial Canal and set out across the river. The current is like surprisingly strong, and you have to like take a little more time maneuvering it around to like go straight on at the base than you intended. But like the searchlights on the base don't spot you until like you're almost on top of it. And like you hear a megaphone blare, like, you know, unidentified watercraft, halt and prepare for boarding. And like you can see at the base, there's like a crew scrambling for patrol boat. But you can definitely like be up on the base before they have a chance to launch. What do you do?
If nobody stops him, Montag is just gonna gun it.
Okay.
I'll back that.
So yeah, you gun it up. You know, you like jump up the levee, up into the base, and like an alarm immediately starts blaring, and the crew that had been readying the patrol boat starts to like run after the duck, and you see that like they're in their they're in Freedom Fist out uniforms, and they've like got their full masks on and everything, but like their like tactical vests are like white instead of the normal black, and the uniforms under it are like more of a blue, and they have like reflective like tape on them, and it's like more like the tack vest is also like half a flotation device, right? These are like Freedom Fist who have been outfitted to be out on the water. There are. I'm gonna drag you over to the combat screen because I think that's what we're about to be doing. Everyone see that I actually drag the... Yep, I did. Okay, so there's a total of 5 people on this boat crew. 4 of the Freedom Fist Marines are armed with M16s, and you can see that like they have grenades strapped to their chests. And one of them is like still in the process of like disembarking from the boat, but you see that he's like dragging a M60 that he has decoupled from like the mount on the boat, and is about to try and go Rambo. And I think this is where the combat starts. I think that the boat you're in counts as a strong point. Let me look in the book real quick and see what that means in real terms. A strong point is a fortified position, such as a concrete pillbox, a guard post surrounded by a wall of sandbags, a heavily armored vehicle, I think that's what this would count as, or a sniper tower, which offers cover, concealment, and an advantageous vantage point. Enemy combatants inside a strong point, or using it for cover, automatically reduce their exposure by 2 at the beginning of each round. Receivers inside a strong point double their successes when using the regroup tactic. So specifically, the regroup thing is what's helping y'all here. I do not think that the Freedom Fist troops are close enough to lob their grenades at you yet, because they like don't have RPGs. They just have regular grenades. So I think that Whiskey and Tango are going to light up shades. Foxtrot and Echo are lighting up Concerned Citizen. And Charlie is going to be directing his fire mainly at the driver's nest in the dock. But I think he's like pouring enough ammo out that he's also catching shades in that hail of fire. So, first off, does anyone have a siege mesh?
Nope.
Okay. Alright, so that is the first round of guns happening. What do y'all do?
I'm going straight aggro at Freedom Fist Charlie.
Alright. Let's see it.
All right.
See them dice.
Sweet.
I see
Nice.
3 successes.
3 successes. All right. So.
And the signal's not up yet.
Here's what happens. Ducking down in the boat and still, just having my movement so limited by everyone, when I finally pop up and see that this guy's setting up a giant machine gun, this is instantly the target of my rage. I cinch my belt, pop the collar of my coat, hop the side of the boat, and just take advance forward, shooting my pocket 9 at him. And tagging him for 1, 2, 3 plus the success there.
So it's 8.
Plus 5 is 9.
It's 9? Oh, right. You're using your peripheral.
Yep.
Right
and
on.
That's going to trigger both error handling, and I rolled 3 on aggro, so I'm going to process my ult twice.
Right,
And
that puts you at
turn,
14 exposure.
Yep. At the end of the turn, liquid cooling will trigger.
Remind me what that
I'm
does.
just going to shout once per scene I can continue at exposure 10 or more.
Okay.
And I'll shout over my soldier, better call the signal now.
Okay. So...
Did we decide how we were going to actually call in the signal?
I think Sutherland probably gave y'all another set of flares to use.
All right, that makes sense. So each one of us should at least have one.
Yeah. We can say each of you have a flare gun and, probably a couple flares.
Okay.
Someone just finish this guy off and process my ult again for me.
All right, so then on my turn, I'm going to first use boot disc and get grid lash ready. The second thing I want to do is I'm going to set off the signal. I don't see any exposed wires I could use, so I am going to lob one of my grenades at Foxtrot and Echo and duck for cover.
Okay. What tactic are you using the grenade with?
Since that's I believe that since that's a +2 I'm sorry, wait, that's 3 exposure to 2 targets, right?
The grenade? Okay, so that is for the NPCs. For player characters, grenades let you target 2 targets with either aggression or guile.
All right, then you know what? I'm gonna go aggro.
Okay, awesome.
And I got a net 2 successes, so you add the 5 waypoints that I get from just using aggro. That's a 7.
Yep, so Foxtrot and Echo each go to exposure 7 as, they duck behind this grenade explosion. You see that like they've both like been tagged by shrapnel, but the blast didn't get them good enough to just like splatter them.
Yeah, so they're still good for now.
For the moment being. Okay. Who's up next?
Was that aggro?
That was aggro. Yeah, so that's going to put Concerned Citizen at 11. Exposure.
At a exposure. But wait, I also lit the signal.
So yeah, that
Yeah, but
happens
you can't
next
end
turn.
around
At the top of next turn, everyone's exposure is going to go down to
So Montag has to save you now.
yeah. Shades has a thing that'll let him survive one round of exposure 10.
Okay,
but-
then I guess I am suppressing.
All right.
Is that better than? Yeah. Got it.
Well, I have to bring him down.
Yeah. Yep. Nice.
Nice.
Oh,
Do you have a library for combat?
I don't have a combat library, but as a valor subroutine, I will process Wall of Sound.
Are you sure you don't want me to process my ult for the third time? Because then I can use it next round.
Your what?
My ultimate.
You can process your ultimate?
I've already processed it twice. So if you give that to me next round, I can glitch wraith against these guys.
I mean, isn't that like really bad for us though?
No, it's really good.
Oh.
Every
it'll-
success I roll neutralizes the threat. And I roll 5.
Yeah, sure. Go ahead and do that. I actually also bring Shades' exposure down by 3 as well, for what it's worth.
Sweet.
I have Aegis.
Okay, so that'll put him still at 11. So
Not like it matters here.
Yeah. Okay, so what does it look like when Montag suppresses? Like, what is he doing?
He actually has his peripheral, his trusty Ingram, and from this, he's just continuing to punch the boat forward. He's got the throttle completely open, and he is just hosing down fire with the SMG over the towers, over the docks, over everything that he could possibly see. And he's just letting clips out and then slapping them in as quickly as he can to just keep pouring on the fire.
Are you basically like strafing the patrol boat?
Yes. But
Awesome.
instead of like actually aiming, he's just turning our boat here and there to make his arm point the direction he wants it to, because it's too much for him to try and aim and drive at the same time.
Nice. Okay, so we are at the top of the round. The signal ignites, which puts everyone's exposure, all the receiver's exposure, at 0. As you are filled with the buzzing FM number sequence that fuels your cybernetic powers. I think that Whiskey is going to run forward and lob a grenade at the duck. Which is going to increase all of your exposures by 3.
I'm not in the duck, though.
That's right, you're not.
Neither am I.
Oh shit, is it just Montag in the duck?
I guess so.
Yeah.
Well, he still grenades it. Unfortunately, the duck is like an open-top vehicle, so there's not a good way... It provides cover against firearms, but there's not a good way to stop a grenade from going in. So I think it, like, blows the shit out of the back seat, and, like, miraculously, it doesn't catch the TNT.
Okay.
It, like, bounces off the back of it and explodes in the air or something. Although you realize you're driving around in a amphibious vehicle full of TNT and people lobbing grenades at you. So
Yeah,
that,
not a good time.
that might be a cause for concern. Tango is going to fire at the moving vehicle with his M16. Let's put Montag at 6 exposure. Foxtrot and Echo each take aim at different receivers. So Shades is targeted by Foxtrot and Concerned Citizens targeted by Echo as they light out with their M16s. Charlie turns his M60 from firing at the duck to like trying to like spread out the machine fire wide to catch Shades and Concerned Citizen, putting everyone at an even 6 exposure.
Oh boy.
And now it is the time for the receivers to make their actions.
Do you all want to try to flank Foxtrot and Echo first before I glitch Wraith? Because every success I roll lets me neutralize the target, but it's unlikely that I'll roll 5 successes.
Yeah, that's a good point.
So,
Yeah, I could very easily neutralize Charlie right now.
Yeah, I mean, Charlie, Echo, Foxtrot, anything.
Yeah.
Like a grenade at Foxtrot and Echo, a second grenade would probably take care of them, and somebody else could do one, like, and then somebody could do Charlie.
Yeah, except the problem is that the grenade, I would have to go aggro again, and that would put me over the exposure threshold. Okay. So,
yeah, just flank somebody.
Yeah, you know what? I'm going to flank Echo. That would be a guile roll, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Roll well, receiver comrade.
1 success with the M16.
But with a -1 on the D10s. So.
Oh,
It's
right.
you have a storm peripheral with the M16. Not a flank.
Do you have a combat library? Well, that doesn't matter. Do you have a memory?
I don't really have a memory.
Okay.
Okay,
yeah,
so
no, that's
that's net 0 successes. So narratively, mechanically, it doesn't give any exposure. Narratively, at 0 successes, the GM describes how you fail, and then you get to add a silver lining to the fiction. So remind me again which guy you were trying to take out with.
I was trying to take out Charlie with the M16, and obviously I missed.
Yeah, so I think that you and Concerned Citizen, like, background wise, doesn't have like training with using a rifle, does he?
No, he does have, like, I do have my Glock 16, but and for all the missions I've done for the Resistance, I haven't used I haven't used an automatic in them very often.
I think like you just leave it. You left it on full auto. Maybe like you didn't realize you could change it between like auto and burst and semi-auto, and it just like kicks way more than you thought it did, and you just like shoot completely high over Charlie, who like sees you shooting at him and like starts to like refocus his machine gun fire at you, and then you get to add a silver lining.
The silver lining here being that Charlie doesn't hit me either, and I'm able to get away with enough time to hide.
Right on. All right, next up.
I am going to try and flank Charlie just to get him out of the picture.
All right.
Okay, so 2 successes.
All right, that will take him out. Tell me, how does Charlie go down?
Montag jumps out of the boat after seeing the first grenade go in and realizing that probably shouldn't have them trying to destroy the thing with all the bombs in them. He'll quickly make his way over to cover, tracking Charlie the entire way, and the second that Charlie is has his focus on one of my fellow comrades, Montag will just pop up with his Ingram and just a quick burst of the trigger and just hose him down.
All right. Down goes Charlie. As he, like, tumbles over, the, like, M60 just, like, goes, like, fires in the air for a brief second as his, like, fingers unclench. And then the knight goes briefly silent.
Sweet. And in that silence, Shades will stand up after being pinned down that round and see what happens when he summons his Glitch Wraith ability.
Alright, and tell me what in the fiction this does.
Sweet. Oh, yeah. No, I'm going to narrate it.
Okay. Right,
All right.
right on.
So I have
Oh,
2
shit.
successes and a botch. So I believe what that means is I neutralize 3 targets and you name bad collateral damage?
So, normally the botch, God, let me look at ultimates real quick. I haven't actually GM'd with them yet, right?
Any botch that is rolled in the attempt results in collateral damage regardless of how many total successes were rolled. Each botch has the potential to injure, maim, or kill a handful of bystanders and non-combatants, and this outcome is narrated by the GM. It may be tactically irrelevant, but it does enormous damage to the Resistance's relationship with the local population and validates the regime's narrative that receivers are murderous cybernetic terrorists.
Lovely.
Great. Well,
So, but the question I have is that, mechanically, does the botch still cancel a success? In this
I don't think it
situation?
does. It does, like, that passage that Don just read, it doesn't explicitly say that.
Yeah, this one says...
It cancels a botch.
2 pages earlier, the rules say, when executing an ultimate, a player makes an op with 5 core dice. For each success, the receiver neutralizes 1 threat or adds 4 exposure. So it doesn't say equal to the number of total successes. It says for each success.
Okay. That it's a little it could be more specific, but let's go with
I mean, we
this
could do
interpretation.
2.
No, I mean let's do all 3. Let's go ahead and do it.
Okay.
I made this a tough fight anyway.
I'll give you well, yeah, I don't really know.
Who do you wipe out?
So Shays is going to he stands up in this silence. The darkness that he hasn't really processed from opening up with that pocket 9 on the rescue mission for the blade that second time out,
Mm-hmm.
kind of comes back in and just like this, like, you know, I'm gonna get mine if you shot at me, and another like unexamined part of what's happening to him, and he just throws like all of his signal energy straight into his ultimate and becomes kind of like a nimbus of himself. So there's like an outline. It's like some kind of energy discharge. It has like an intensity. Like you look at it and it's like there's a searingness to it that's neither light nor dark. It's kind of like hard to place, but he's like there and not there. And he starts at a walk, moves into a run, pushes his arm through Freedom Fist Echo, clenches his fist to solidify it, and that ends Freedom Fist Echo, and then yells, "Masks off." And then you tell me if 2 others take their masks off.
Yeah, I think Foxtrot, and I'm gonna change my little message here. Beep. So yeah, Foxtrot tears their mask off.
What about Tango?
And I think Whiskey tears their mask off.
Okay.
And I think Tango is too freaked out.
Yeah, Tango. Yeah, I just got the 3. So
Yeah.
really, I just wanted to know if the third one was going to do that or not before I narrated any further. But like with that, he'll just like power down and be like standing there panting on the tarmac with poor Fox, poor Echo just obliterated.
Right, here, let me move these around so that it looks better. Okay. So, Tango is still up. And I think, like, so at the top of the round again.
Yep.
So, Charlie is riddled with bullet holes. Echo has been, like, torn open by the signal. And, like, Foxtrot and Whiskey are both, like, they're both, like, tearing their masks off and throwing them down. You see they're both, like, Foxtrot is, like, barely 19. Like, he looks like a teenager. Like, some, like, fresh-faced recruit. And Whiskey is, like, an older, an old guy who looks like he's a, like, career beat cop. And you can, like, see, like, in his suit, he's, like, a little husky. Not like, comically fat cop, but, like, you know, an older guy who's been on the job for a long time and, like, seen some shit. And they're both, like, fuck this, we're out. They both put their hands up and, like, get on their knees. And Tango speaks, and you can hear, like, his voice through the, like, filter of his Freedom Fist mask that he's, like, sounds like a fucking old, grizzled, like, career soldier, and he just says fucking disgusting. And he, like, raises his M16, and fires at Shades, like, he's identified who he thinks is the most threatening. And, like, going back a little bit, sorry, this cat is about to knock over my mic stand. Being a little rascal, huh? Yeah, going back to the botch and the collateral damage. This isn't something I can narrate immediately, but I think what happens is a like CC camera is going to catch Shades, and that's going to be in the news later. The, like, gruesomeness of it, the sort of, like, fully played up, like, these images may disturb some viewer discretion type, like, gruesome war reporting type stuff.
Sweet, because once he sees that, even though Gift to the Stranger might obscure his identity, he'll be in, like, a constant state of paranoia at one, just being, like, caught, like, that kind of, like, shame, like, cultural thing.
Mm-hmm.
But underneath that will be a sense of, like, guilt now that it moved from, like, the pocket 9 to his hand.
Mm-hmm.
And so we'll, not this session, but next, maybe we'll play him a little quieter, reflective, and upset.
Right on. Okay, so, yeah.
Cool.
Tango took his shot at Shades. Montag is at 6 exposure. Concerned Citizen is at 6 exposure. And Shades is at 9. What do y'all do?
So Tango's at 0, so unless I get, like, a perfect aggro roll, there's no way I can knock him out of this one turn.
Do you want to roll signal strength real quick?
Oh, shit,
we gotta roll signal strength.
Whoops. I mean, this is the first time that we would have to do it, so this is fine. So the number to beat here is 3. Still.
Yeah, less than a 3.
Less than 3. 3 or less.
3 or less. Nope. So, and in keeping with how we know the rules work now, 2 more turns of rolling above a 3, and the signal goes down. If there's 3 more bad turns after that, the Death Squad show up. but
Let's finish this.
rolling good on signal strength will bump the ticker up, or bump the ticker back to neutral first.
Right.
So it's actually hard for death squads to show up. Not impossible, but hard.
But harder than we originally thought it was.
It's
Let's put it
much
that
harder.
way.
It's much harder than we thought it was originally. Yes.
So here's my idea. With my Valor 5, I could try and suppress the both of you. I may get at least Citizen down, but if I get Shades down, the both of you could basically just aggro this guy, take him out of the fight, we're gone.
Yep.
Sounds like a
Okay.
good deal.
So at least 3 to both of them to reduce.
Sweet. Concerned citizen, do you have a Valor subroutine?
I do not have a Valor subroutine.
Oh, neither do
I think I am the only one with Valor subroutine.
Well,
Well,
you
you
can process
process
that
it.
subroutine.
We will process Gremlin Uprising.
Nice. That Freedom Fist helmet still has radio in it.
It does. Does indeed.
Concerned citizen, you want to go aggro, and I'll finish up with a flank. We'll see. How
Yeah, so this is going to be my move since my exposure is low enough now. I'm going to go aggro. I'm going to use my Gridlash subroutine. Because with all the damage that Shades has done to the base, there's plenty of exposed wires that are still connected. So I'm just going to roll over. I'm going to grab one. And I'm going to see if I can't, if I can't move enough wires to just hover menacingly like an inch away from Tango as I scream, take off your mask, drop your weapons, walk away, and you get to live. And 1 success. So that's...
plus your other stuff.
But, yeah.
So how many does Gridlash add?
I gotta look that up.
What's your doesn't it just add your whatever
Yeah,
its number is?
It adds the processor it's linked to.
Yeah.
Okay, so I have 5 core processors for aggro.
Is
So-
Gridlash aggro?
It is aggro.
Yeah.
Oh, sweet. Yeah, so,
So that's what 11 with going aggro and Gridlash and the 1 success. That's 11.
Oh
Exposure.
shit!
So
I got us out of the scene.
So yeah, I think so. Like narratively, actually, you tell me, what does it look like when Tango is cowed by your awful, terrifying, signal-controlled destructo wires?
You can't. All right, so you can't see his face, but with all these wires just hovering like an inch away from him, and him and me screaming at him to just take off his mask and drop his equipment, and we'll let him walk away. He is freaked the fuck out. He's actually on his knees. He actually falls to his knees in shock, like as if this is the first time that Tango has ever seen anything like this in his life. And so, yeah, realizing that he's been beaten, he does as I've been ordering him. He takes off his mask. He drops his armor. He drops his weapons, and I pull back the wires just enough so that he can walk away.
Yeah, he definitely like scrambles for a second and just like lights out. And like I think Whiskey and Foxtrot were just hanging back long enough to like make sure Tango either got free or was killed in action. And like they all just like fucking run for the buildings of the naval base. And you hear like one of them yelling into the radio like we're under attack. There's a 404 at naval base. Repeat, 404 at naval base, and they're just like fucking running away. So there doesn't seem to be any more Freedom Fist, like, surging out of the buildings, the base, or anything. Like, Sutherland's intel was pretty good. There was a skeleton crew. There was only, like, one patrol boat crew lingering. I think Shades, you get, after, like, a second, you get a buzz on your pager. That is like a prearranged thing Midas told you that is like the signal that, like, it's working. Keep it up. They don't risk a call, but a quick, like, code is fine. So what do y'all do to keep making noise?
Well, has the TNT on the boat been detonated?
It thankfully hasn't.
Well, we got a whole bunch of that, and those are very loud.
They are very loud indeed, and we've got quite a few buildings. What do you say we plant some on a few, as much as we can, on as many buildings as we can, and set it off?
Yeah, you have a lot of TNT, and I think you could, like, seriously fuck up the buildings for sure. There are also, like, Coast Guard style patrol boats moored along the river. And, like, destroying those could also, like, maybe be slightly more of a strategic blow to the regime here, since it'll decrease their ability to police the river traffic.
That's true.
And it is up to y'all, of course, which do you find more tempting, the boats or the buildings?
Well, as much, I'm kind of torn here, because on the one hand, you blow up the boats can be much, they don't make for, I'm not sure what makes for better attention grabbing, if you will. If there are a bunch of explosions on a bunch of buildings, that grabs more attention.
Let's put it in perspective. They can replace boats a lot easier than they can replace buildings.
That's true.
So I say we detonate the buildings.
Yeah, but we might want, like, just out of metagaming for a minute, like, we might want more free reign on the river, like, to diminish their ability to inspect vessels if we were going to start getting these people out on shipping containers and things like that.
We have firearms. We can always hose the boats down with bullets and just shoot up the motors and shoot up the hulls and things like that at the same time.
Yeah, what if you, like, spike the dock? That's a piece of infrastructure that would
and just annihilate their ability to launch boats from here.
Yeah.
Why don't one of you go and work on, like, scuttling the ships? One of you spike part of the dock, and I'll use, like, a free play instance of Phone Home to bop around the main building, leaving a charge and a timer on every, like, filing cabinet or computer to do damage, but also screw up their bureaucracy.
Right on. In terms of, like, boat scuttling ability, that, like, Charlie's M60 is just sitting there.
Guys, sorry. My internet went out very briefly. So I don't. So the last thing I heard was Don talking about closing down the boats with gunfire or something like that.
Yeah, somebody's going to poke some holes in the patrol boats with the M60. Somebody's going to lay charges on the dock to spike it. And I'll phone home through the building and just leave a bunch of explosives wherever there's a computer or filing cabinet to mess with their bureaucracy and ability to, like, actually know who's who.
All right. Sounds like a plan. I think that the situation is such that this doesn't need to be a scene. The potential regime response force is too far out to, like, reach you before you can, like, fuck up this place pretty bad.
But if we meet in 15 minutes at the Duck and, like, try to drive it back across the bridge and do, like, an invasion scene.
All right, I think I'm back for good now.
Oh, did you blink out again?
Yeah, I just blinked out. Yeah. Yeah, I didn't have to reset it, but I blinked off. Yeah, I apologize to everyone. I blinked out twice.
No worries.
Yeah. So, where were we? What did we decide to do?
Our plan doesn't require a scene because the regime forces are too far out. They won't arrive in time. But I said maybe it would be fun to play a evasion scene.
Okay, so there's not
back
gonna
to HQ.
I think you blinked out again, Nathan. Not that if you blinked out you could hear me saying that. So we were having some...
I can hear you saying that, but I'm gonna try resetting my internet. I will be back in like 5 minutes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. In the meantime, let's take this time to plug Sigmata BBS, the official home of Sigmata on Discord. I'm going to drop a invitation link in Twitch chat for everyone to come and say hi. In the Sigmata Discord, you can use the Sigmata BBS community to try and find local or online games, and to just, hang out and chat and be part of the community. Also, on Sigmata BBS is the Ashcan of Airlock, which is a sci-fi space opera game that uses the same core engine as Sigmata, which Don and Chad here can attest to being an awesome time. Chad, what's your favorite thing about Airlock?
Totally. My favorite thing about Airlock is that it's a great way to bring together like all of your favorite parts of everything sci-fi you've ever consumed in terms of media and remix them into campaign and adventure that's your own. And by your own, I mean like all the players own, the GM, the players. You get to co-create this kind of magical place where you just use storytelling to make all these intersections of wild ideas work. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, we wound up with a pretty wild setting with like your typical like space corporation stuff, but also like a weird cult and space syndicalism. Don, what's your favorite thing about Airlock?
My favorite thing about Airlock is because it uses the Sigmata Cryptomancer system here. You finally have a space combat or like a crew section where people can actually do things other than just needing to rely on the gunners and pilots to make all the rolls and then that's it. With the way that the system interacts, it's the first time I ever actually had a blast seeing everyone get to do their cool specific things and narrate the results on board the spaceship as we're, flying away from alien fighters through an asteroid field. It was really neat. I really enjoyed it.
Yeah. So I had been GMing a Stars Without Number game, and I was really excited to see how that game handled space combat, because like the second edition looks like they fixed it. But it's also like an OSR style game where combat is really deadly, and so my players just like really didn't want to get into fights. So I didn't get to like try out the space combat. All right, Nathan, are you back?
Not on the call.
He's not on the call. I see him.
But he's in Roll20.
Yeah. That could be a ghost or something, though. Or not. I'm not sure.
We had a super long cruise scene the other night in the Airlock game I was running. As
adjudicator space, right?
Yeah, adjudication space. They were trying to, their bosses essentially just wanted to disappear them after they made a discovery that the government didn't know how to handle and thought would, bring down the whole sector. So they had to do this escape, and it was cool It took a long time. It was really challenging for them because I'm still calibrating the difficulty of these things between Sigmata and Erla. But they had to like punch through the empty space between a gas giant and an asteroid belt that had a wormhole out of the system because they just couldn't stay anymore. And it was like this, we're talking about like huge distances. So like this really abstract game.
Okay, I'm back. I think. Can you guys hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. I don't have video on you, but I can hear you.
All right, I'm gonna try and refresh. Hopefully, you can get video on me. If this happens again, I'm just gonna switch over to my phone, put it on data, and play out the rest of the situation the session that way.
Okay.
So at this point, sorry for my internet, Charles, but I'm probably going to need a new router.
Oh, that's the worst. If it's going to be a problem, this is also a good spot to call the session short, and we can pick up with part 2 next time. If it's really going to be an issue. But let's try to move on for the moment, at least.
Right. I see. All right. I see other Chad on video. I see Mike on video. I don't see Don. Can you guys see me?
Yeah, we can see.
Yeah, I can see you.
Oh, now I see Don. All right. All right. Back in business, boys.
All right. Okay. So a quick recap. The plan is for someone to take Charlie's M60 and scuttle the patrol boats, while someone else takes some of the TNT and plants explosives on the dock, while Shades takes the rest of the TNT and blinks between the buildings, planting explosives on filing cabinets and computers.
All right.
I
guess dibs on the docks.
Okay. I guess that makes Montag the M60 guy.
Hey, I'm good with that.
All right. This part does not require a scene or a scene because you killed the security force, or you disassembled the security force that had been left here. And the rest of the Freedom Fist that's stationed here is in Uptown, currently on standby, waiting for further news from what's happening at the base. So you have a radio detonator, right, to blow these things. Like the one you had before, there's like 100-yard range on it. So do you pile back into the dock and go back on the river, or do you steal a truck from the base, or how are you leaving the base?
I see a truck on the base. We could use that. I guess sort of a stupid question. I guess the boat we came in on is no longer good to get as a way to get back.
It's still fine. The Charlie's M60 and one of the grenade that Whiskey tossed at it, fucked it up pretty bad.
Can we steal one of the regime boats that's still here?
We can say that you didn't scuttle one of them, and use that if you want to, for sure.
All right, then let's use one of the regime boats.
Because we've just made it a lot harder for them to follow us out into the water anyway. Whereas if we took a truck, they could find ways to get us on the roads.
Exactly.
All right, that sounds awesome. So yeah, you pile in to this Coast Guard. I don't know what you call that kind of is a cutter.
Cutter is a little bit big.
Okay.
Patrol boat.
Yeah, patrol boat. It's a patrol boat. I don't know naval terms, as you can see. So yeah, you pile into the patrol boat, and you set out. I think it's been like airbrushed like a matte black to match the like typical Freedom Fist uniform, even though like the boat Freedom Fist don't wear the same colors. And you light out onto the river, and who has the detonator? Who's making the explosion happen?
I would think Montag would have been given the detonator since he decided to drive it.
Sure.
All right. So does Montag punctuate the coming explosion with any sort of witticism or profound statement?
In this case, no. Montag is coldly professional about this. As he's driving away, he makes sure to slow it down a little bit just to turn back, and he wants to watch this base go up. As he flicks up the safety on the detonator and just slowly depresses the button.
All right, you see the flash of the explosion that is like only precedes briefly the roar of the dynamite exploding and the like little bit of shockwave that reaches the boat, and like you have, well, we're gonna say you have like the police scanner on the patrol boat turned on, and like you hear immediately like the chatter like from like dozens of APCs speaking in panic. You hear like some are like, shit, the 404 was real. Fall back. There are some that are like, shouting to confirm that like people who are stationed at the base are out safe, and like you quickly hear the like you hear a voice that you recognize as Tango's actually say, we fell back a safe distance. The 404 took the base. There weren't enough of us to stage a counterattack. Fall back to base, make a perimeter, find them. And like Tango on the radio just like starts barking out orders. And like you have the scanner on, so you like know where the APCs are going. About half of them are returning across, like going across the bridge, returning to the West Bank, to help the local firefighters, put out the giant gushing flames of the base. But the other half of the APCs, Tango sends to like checkpoints around the city, and he says those fuckers had to go somewhere. Find them. So how are you going to... You're in this patrol boat, which will stand out somewhat. So how are you going to make your way back to base?
Maybe best to like literally ditch this thing and press our luck, roughing it on foot.
Yeah. So
as far as we can.
Agreed.
The base also isn't on the water, so you like might be able to like take it a little bit up the industrial canal and then make your way on foot back to base. Sutherland wasn't going to wait in the van at the end of the world to pick you back up again. So you're on your own in terms of like getting back to base safely.
I mean, at that point, it is what it is.
Yeah.
We've gotta like move carefully, quietly. We've gotta like as roundabout as we can to avoid any checkpoints.
Right.
Let's go to the zoo. And then we can sneak through the zoo, and I'll take us through the university back to the warehouse.
That's a very roundabout route.
I love the zoo, man. I spent a lot of time there.
I mean, that would be going, like, way upriver to Audubon, and then, like, falling back through Audubon to the universities, like, to the universities through, like, it's way out of the way. Yeah. I mean, does someone else, like... I mean, y'all could do it. That'd be...
I'm down for it. I mean, nobody would be looking for us at the zoo. And
So we could also go
you know,
to, like, the... I don't know what they call that thing, but, like, the big, like, river mall where the aquarium is, and near the French Quarter, and, like, either try to lose them in the mall or casino over there.
Yeah, that'd be much closer to y'all, like here. I'm pretty sure that's just called the Riverwalk.
All right.
But yeah.
so let's do that.
Okay. So let's make an evasion scene.
Sweet.
So let me whip up this evasion scene real quick. Okay, so the location is I still have this on red. I'll leave it on red.
I see.
Yeah, the location is I guess just like escape. Like it's not one location. This would be like a chase almost. So I'm just gonna call location the escape. I think that the first set of waypoints is going to be through the Riverwalk, followed by I think you'll have to steal a car. Like, stealing a car on a canal street is probably possible. So, acquire a vehicle.
Hotel parking lot or something.
Yeah. And then after that will be lose Freedom Fist pursuers. And then...
Is it going to be a 20-point?
Oh, yeah. We're doing a full fucking 20-point scene.
All right. All right. Just saying.
Yeah.
Yep.
The time of going easy on you has passed. It is now time to stress test how much you can take.
I just want to finish this thing before the end of the call.
Oh, right.
We could do it.
But maybe.
Yeah, we can do
Go
it.
for broke.
And
Go for broke.
yes. I definitely appear to be good now.
Okay, awesome. I think the last 5 waypoints is go to ground. So we have getting through the Riverwalk.
That means go to Midas's house.
Which is like a mall that's on the river, right? Acquire a vehicle, lose Freedom Fist pursuers, and then go to ground. This is going to be a 3-alarm scene. As a start, so yeah, you with Shade's insistence of like we can lose them in the mall, you like bring the patrol boat up against the levee on the east bank of the river, and you pile out and like you see we're just gonna do this as a chase, like full on. So like you pile out of the patrol boat and start running for the river walk just as an APC like screeches to a halt. And like we'll say like all six like Freedom Fist and the APC peel out, not with their full like M16 gear, like they have pistols out, and they shout. One has like it looks like he has like subwoofers built into his mask, and he flips it on, and it's a fucking like megaphone built into his mask, and he shouts, stop, in the name of the law, and like they start chasing you. Thankfully, there's like too many civilians milling about the Riverwalk that they like aren't risking opening fire right away. And yeah, that's the situation. Everyone's exposure increases by 3. There's a 3-alarm scene. And how do you try to evade these pursuers?
I'm gonna sneak with my sneaky shoes. Ooh.
That's
Alright.
that's a wash. So you
No, cause I got my sneaky shoes. That's 1.
oh, you ignore 1. Okay, right. So you have 1 success. Tell me how your sneaky shoes help you.
They help me as I just slide right out of the hallway and stand in line for some beignets like everybody else.
Okay, so this is where I want to step in as the like executive producer of the scene, and say that I don't know if like stealth is an appropriate way, because like we've established that they've seen y'all like getting out of the boat, and they're pursuing you. So this is more of a chase than a sneaking scene, at least right at the moment. So I think the narration needs to be about like outpacing them at this point.
Sure. I mean, with 1 success, I felt like something more subtle than all out, but sure. I dig into the floor and take off.
All right, great. So at the 1 success, I add an ominous detail, whereas I think that while the grip on your sneaky shoes is helping you like get moving, one of the Freedom Fists is like gaining on you, and he's like almost at a point where he's outpaced the last civilian between you two and might be able to take a clear shot.
Sure.
Next up.
Can you move me ahead 1?
Oh yeah, I'm sorry.
Cool, thank you.
And now my mouse has stopped working. Hang on. There we go. All right, who's next?
All right, so
Go ahead, citizen.
all right, so I'm going to. All right, so we're going through the mall, right?
Yeah.
All right, so I'm going to try and blend in with the crowd and try and move forward and gain some waypoints. So that's going to be a guile roll.
All right.
And that's
Oh.
oh god.
Oh no, the alarm increases.
Oh my god. The dice really hate me tonight.
Oh, that's do you have a memory or anything else you can use here?
Not like no, not really. Oh my god.
Okay. So I think what happens is like you're like dashing through the mall, and like you stumble into you're looking like over your shoulder to like see if the fist were gaining on you, or like how close they're gaining on you, and you look back just in time to like bowl into a mall cop who like you scramble to your feet and run past him while the mall cop starts building into his radio, he says some sort of code that's not a 404 because the signal's not up and they don't know your receivers. But he says, belts in, Freedom Fist pursuing fugitives, all mall security assist. And like now the mall security guards are also pursuing you. We are now a 4-alarm. Montag, what are you getting up to?
Montag is going to try and attempt this similar thing at that point. He's like hustling while trying to blend into the crowds and not stand out in any way, so he's sneaking.
All right.
Man, it is not good for us tonight.
Oh man, now so that's 0. That's a wash.
Yeah, I've got nothing.
Okay, yeah. I think that with the commotion of the mall cops now being on alert and the fist busting in, and like that one fist guy, like sergeant who has the like megaphone setup built into his mask, is just like freaking the fuck out of the crowd, and they're all scattering away from you. So you don't have the opportunity to like slip in among them. And at 0 successes, you get to add a silver lining to that, which is
at the very least, they didn't realize that Montag came in here with Citizen.
okay. All right. So we're at the top of the round. Everyone's exposure increases by 4 now. Also, does anyone have the evasion mesh?
Wait, yeah, I do have the evasion mesh. That's ghost mesh, right?
Yeah, ghost mesh. So that still helps. So, concerned citizen, you were at 2 exposure. Last time.
So that means my exposure will go up to a 5.
Yeah, it goes up to a 5 instead of a 6. Or really a 7.
Well, it goes to a 6, then comes down to a 5.
Yeah.
It's first 3 to
and everyone else goes to 7.
6 to 5.
All right.
I am not getting caught by a Freedom Fist guy. We're gonna rush.
All right. Oh my god.
Hold on. All right. We, much like last time when we reached back into the memory bank for that weird movie Mom made us watch with the girl doing the jazz dance, we're going a little more recent this time. And we are mimicking this guy, like this really, like, this pretty cool actor. I look up to him a lot. His name's Kevin Bacon. And he's in this movie Footloose. And he did this like thing. So I'm gonna do like the Kenny Loggins Footloose dance through the mall, as my library. So first, my 5 is gonna become a success. I'm gonna be twirling my coat an awful lot with that rush peripheral on it, and that'll give me an extra success. So that'll get rid of, let's say, the 2 1s, discount the 5. We'll have the 8, the 9, and the 5 from going aggro. So 7.
7 waypoints.
And then I will process error handling. Liquid cooling will come in at the end of the round.
Yeah, your exposure is going to be at 12, I think.
Yeah, so I think probably, yeah. Let's do that. You don't want to do that? Trying to think. There's probably not enough time to also call on the signal on my phone, so let's leave it there and see what happens.
All right, who's up next?
Oh, actually, yeah. If anybody wants to call on the signal, that's great. Sorry, with error handling, I'll process phone home.
Right on.
Why is my exposure all the way up?
Oh, I moved the wrong thing. I'm sorry.
No, you're good, man.
You should
Just
also.
fucking like
It's late.
it is.
Also, So Shades, you were at 1 waypoint, so you should be at 8 now.
Yeah. So like I do like this spin move, bust out the door, and start doing like this: down 3 steps, back up 1, down 5 steps, jump over the railing into the parking lot outside the door, looking for a car to steal.
All right. Yeah, just add a little narrative zest to all of that. The like people from the mall are like all in the process of, like running out and like getting to their vehicles. So there's, you probably want to go for a car that like doesn't have someone trying to drive off in it. Who's up next?
Or I'm just gonna need to push someone out of the way.
Or that.
Putting them off the door.
Or that. Yeah.
Well, I mean, I might not even survive next round, so let's cross that bridge when we get to it.
Fair enough.
I'll go next. At this point. Oh wait, no, because if we end over 10, that's bad.
Yes.
Shit.
Oh wait, hold on. Time out. Time
Yes.
out. We have to go backwards
Okay.
because I was using the library like a memory, but it's not. I didn't have any 10s. So actually, the 5 doesn't stand. So it's just I go down 1 waypoint, but same difference.
Okay.
Well, I'm assuming we're gonna call on the signal next round at the very least. Or no, we have to call it in this round. This next round will be
Kind of,
over.
sort of it would be helpful.
Kind of, sorta. Hey, shit. I'm gonna have Montag sneak, but he's gonna try and get to a payphone at this point and call in the signal.
Okay. Let's see the sneak roll.
You can do it, Montag.
I can't.
Oh.
Wait, the 10 counts as 2.
You have a library?
I have an evasion library.
Nice. What is the library and how does it help you? Narrate for me how your library affects the scene.
The library is mimic. So in this case, as everyone else is looking like loyal and scared citizens who are just trying to get out of the way of the good and totally competent police, Montag is just kind of falling into step all of them, and he's acting the part of just being like, oh my god, what is going on? Terrorists within our very malls. And he's using that as cover to get to the phone banks, where he then dials in very quickly, but the conversation he has is not at all call in the signal. It's him saying over and over that they found them at the mall and things have gone so terribly wrong, and I don't understand how Nolans could come to this. Trying to get our handler to realize we are in massive amounts of trouble.
Okay, yeah. Yeah, I think Sutherland was the guy who picked up the phone at HQ, and you hear him, like, it doesn't even take him, like, a second. You just hear him, put a hand over the receiver and shout at someone, just a little bit muffled by his hand. Flip it on. And next round, the signal will be up.
Okay, I get 1 waypoint, and signal is coming on.
All right. Concerned citizen.
All right. So if the signal's all right. So the signal's going to be up next round. I just got to make it until then.
Yep.
Can't roll aggro. That'll put me at 10. So And I'm like really scared to roll guile again after that. So I'm gonna roll.
Just do it. You can do it.
You know what?
Or you can try to bring me down. Because then
I'm going to try to bring Shades. All right, so that's Valor. I'm going to roll Valor for Shades. Please work. God damn it!
Oh, you get into an evasion scene, the dice suddenly are not very happy.
I can't see his roll. I think
Oh, there it is.
Oh my god.
This is like the worst. This is like the worst dice night I've ever had.
Y'all did pretty decent in the combat scene. Do you have a library that can help you?
I kind of. I guess I'm just gonna go try. No, I don't have a
Valor memory. Oh, Valor memory would help.
Yeah, I don't have any of that stuff. I really should have thought about that more when I was creating this character.
That's what ups are for.
Yep.
Yeah. I'm definitely gonna start looking at how I can spend them. I was hoping to like hold out until I could get 75 so I could like max out one of my other 3 processors, but I'm not sure I'm going to do that.
Not in the cards. So you were trying to use Valor to cover for Montag, right?
Shades.
For Shades. Okay.
To blow liquid cooling so early. That's right.
Okay, so I think that I think this is just like a situation thing. It's not like a major failure, but like you're going to like try to cover for him, but like pulling the Kevin Bacon moves, he's just like way too flashy, and like before you can like deflect attention from him, he's like out the door into the parking lot. And like some of the bystanders are just like staring at the scene slack-jawed, and like you see like one of the Freedom Fists like peel off from the rest and like duck out another door further on, going after Shades. All right, was that entire round, right? Yep. Is that everyone? So the signal goes off, which resets everyone's exposure to 0.
Roll signal strength too. You should do signal strength too.
I thought you didn't roll signal strength the first round it's up.
I think we have been, but it doesn't matter.
I thought we hadn't.
No, I just mean in the other game.
Oh,
I think we roll it every time.
Okay.
But we can if we haven't been doing that here. Let's just
we haven't been rolling it the first round. Yeah, I'll look up that rule between sessions and make sure. But yeah, so the signal goes up. You feel the thrum of FM radio thrill through you. I think like in one of the shops in the mall that was like playing music. There's like a screech of static, and then just like this weird beeping sound, or like.
Nice.
Have you ever like put a like software CD in like a radio to see what happens?
Yes.
It's like kind of like that sound. The like screech of just like data that's not meant to be audio, screeching over audio as like the signal is made audible. Everyone's exposure is not... Actually, another procedures question. Does exposure get knocked down to 0 before or after exposure is assigned for that turn?
It goes to 0 and then you assign it.
Okay. Alright, so then everyone will still go up to 4 as the chaos ensues.
Well, I go up to 3.
Yes, concerned citizen... Well, it goes up to 4, then drops to 3.
Yeah.
Yeah. So...
Are our subroutines from the last scene still processed or no?
I don't think so.
No.
Shit. All right.
Yeah, it's process subroutines aren't supposed to persist, and the signal is supposed to go down between scenes.
No.
Okay, so setting the scene again. The fist is still chasing two of you through the halls of the Riverwalk. Meanwhile, Shades is out in the parking lot, surveying for a vehicle to abscond with. And you hear like a door slam open behind you as one of the fist steps out into the lot and starts to raise their pistol and says, "On the ground!" And it's your
Seems
turn.
like a good time to rush.
Yeah, it probably is.
Okay, that's a very good roll.
And now I've got the mimic. This is great.
Oh, shit, so that's, you got 4 successes there.
Yep, +5 for the
So that's
waypoint.
nine waypoints, which will
And,
put you
the
at
rush-
16.
The rush peripheral is going to make it 10.
Oh, shit. So you're at 17 then.
Yeah.
So,
All right. So here's I'm going to narrate something, and then you all just expand your scene to fit within the timeline of this. So Shades like whips around, sees this guy, whips back, sees another guy who's like an off-duty cop or something, like some vigilante who's opened his car only to get his service weapon out of the glove compartment. And that's the guy I rush. I cold cock him, grab his keys, dive into his car, and just take off out of the parking lot. I make it like 3 blocks before I see a payphone, and then I grab it and I add the 5 successes for phone home to get back to the warehouse.
okay. I think,
And
I
I'm
mean,
a
you're
bad
still need 3 more successes to, like, be
I?
gone to ground.
Oh, no. I just added in the 5 from my subroutine.
Oh,
process,
fuck, that
and
you're
I did
right.
10 as well.
You're right. So you're just gone. You're out of the scene.
Yeah, it was 22. That was good. That was a good turn. I'm sorry, fellas.
Well,
you don't have to worry about Shades anymore.
the signal's up, so hopefully.
Oh, and let one of you can process an aggro. You can process Gridlash off of that.
I could process Gridlash.
And then you can use it.
Are we allowed to process when you use a subroutine?
Yeah, as long as it's the same kind, I can give it to you to either process the same kind of subroutine
Gotcha.
or one of your alts.
Gotcha.
So
All
it
right,
seems like
then.
an immediate subroutine would be better than a third of an alt right now.
Yes. That's probably. You maybe also don't want to use an ultimate while, like, being chased through public areas filled with innocent
Yeah.
bystanders.
I
Oh,
really,
dude, and
yeah.
this car was like, it was a Datsun. It was just this guy. He was like a no frills, like beat cop, off duty, poor guy. I took his Datsun from him.
Nice.
You can get it back. It's only 3 blocks away by payphone.
Yeah, right on. All right, who's up next?
I could. Well, no, wait. Actually, is it? Yeah. Okay. Wait. It's a new turn.
Yeah, it's your turn.
It's a new turn and you just got a subroutine processed.
Yeah, I just had a subroutine process. Is it too late to use boot disk or?
You can go ahead and use it.
Yeah, because I was gonna. Yeah, because I was also gonna process a transistor ear, and so that can give me a the ability to listen on wireless transmissions, get a hold of where, the cops and Freedom Fist are as I try to move through this mall.
Not for nothing, but if you're gonna boot this to process that, can I have the aggression subroutine then? That
Yeah, you can have
shows up.
take the aggression if you want it.
Okay. And I'm processing liberation frequency. Thank you.
Nice. Nice.
All right. So then I'm gonna aggro roll because I need to get some movement going here.
All right, that's going to put you at 8 exposure.
And 3 successes.
All right, so that's
So
8
gives me a total of
waypoints
8
plus
waypoints.
how many for your transistor ear?
Transistor ear is judgment.
So how many more do you get for that?
I would get 3. I would get 3 more then, so that would give me 11.
All right, so that gets you to that'll take you through acquiring a vehicle to being in the process of losing Freedom Fist pursuers. So narrate for me how you get out of the Riverwalk, get a vehicle, and start losing pursuers.
All right, so after the last couple of fails, I managed to to find a small, a relatively secluded hiding place in the mall where I could I kept tabs on the guards by using transistor ear, and I just ran as soon as I heard that they were loosening up their patrols and their presence in my immediate vicinity. I just ran and got really lucky to the point where I was able to acquire a vehicle. But now they see me and they're chasing after me.
Yeah, I think that like as you're making your way into the parking lot, like one of the fists spots you and like you get into a car and like peel out just in time for like motorcycle cop to like chase after you.
Yeah.
All right. Montag, what are you up to?
Montag is going to rush and activate the liberation frequency.
All right.
Try and get the fuck out of here.
It's going to put you at 9 exposure.
So I have a peripheral, so that knocks out at least one of those.
All right.
But that's shit. That's only 1 success.
So that's 6 waypoints, which will put you at 7. So it'll get you, and then plus the stuff from your liberation frequency,
which is an additional 3.
So that'll put you at like getting into a car, basically. So narrate for me what this looks like and how your peripheral helps you.
So with all the other receivers basically ducking the fuck out of here and trying to evade pursuers and realizing that more and more backup is just going to keep showing up to the mall, Montag pulls out his headphones, his Walkman with his workout mixtape on it, slowly slips them on.
Jams.
And he starts to feel the radio waves all around him and starts reaching out to that and starts keying it into his workout mixtape. So that the main guitar riff to Tom Sawyer from Rush starts blaring extremely loudly throughout the entire mall to the point of literally leaving people writhing on the ground as their eardrums are just starting to vibrate and make them feel completely nauseous and sick. But Montag's not affected. He's just running past all of this.
And the rest of the people just feel that way about Rush in general.
Yes.
So like as you do that, there was that one shop where the signal noise was being broadcast with the audio. Just like the FM station they were playing on is like the one that was being used to broadcast the signal. And like as you activate your power, the signal itself like starts to like make the guitar riff to Tom Sawyer. And there's a flash cut to like a guy in a lab coat working at a computer mainframe, and the subtitle says, like, State University, Indiana, whatever, and the guy is looking at a bunch of ones and zeros on a, like, black and green screen, right? And you hear him mutter, "Is that the riff from Tom Sawyer?" And it flash cuts back to the action scene. And also, like, the cut to the, like, guy in the lab coat had a date stamp that was, like, a month earlier, right? So it's implying that was when the signal signal seed was being made.
Gotcha. That's really cool.
All right. So that was that round, right? So everyone's exposure increases by 4. So that's going to put Montag at 13. And Concerned Citizen at 12 and then 11, as it goes down 1.
Yeah. So, can I activate my cooldown now, or I mean reboot?
So you can say you reboot at the end of the round. Like you're
Try your judgment first.
So I
Yeah.
can go through this whole next round.
You just can't end at 10.
yeah, but
And
it's
then if you end at 10 and choose not to reboot, you're done. If you do reboot, you can't then end at 10 again, this scene or next scene, or else again, you're done.
Okay, so
So you can
I-
act first and then decide.
All right, so all right, so I guess this is sort of the stupid question. Can I act and then reboot, or can I only choose one or the other?
no, yeah, you can act and then reboot.
Yeah.
Yeah, but like next turn, you're going to like you can reboot. Oh, rebooting takes you back to 0, doesn't it?
It does.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
You can reboot. You act and then
Okay,
reboot.
but
Yeah.
Oh, I
act
guess
and then reboot.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can do
Rebooting
aggro
isn't an
and then
action;
reboot.
it's a thing you can decide to do. But yeah, you could totally just like go aggro and then reboot, and then.
All right. Are we sure that that's a correct interpretation of the rules, though? Because that sounds
Yes.
almost
that-
too easy.
No, that's exactly how it's
It
supposed
makes
to
you
work.
vulnerable on your next mission, on like your entire next mission. If you end at a turn at 10, you're done.
All right. Okay, then. Time to go aggro.
Oof.
Oof. All right. Well, at least there were no failures.
All right.
So that gives me.
Hey, do you have an aggro memory?
I get not really. No.
What is your memory?
Um,
Which process?
Like my memory is kind of like of my parents, and like I've sort of been using it as just sort of like his sort of determination to like
Well, what's the
not
letter
get
Well,
caught by the regime.
What core is it tied to?
It's cool. It's tied to judgment.
Okay.
Okay.
All right.
Like,
So
I think that would be like that would be the best category to put it under, judgment.
I mean,
That's 6.
that's still going to put you at 17 waypoints.
That's good enough because then you can aggro again next round.
Yeah. So it gets you narratively, it gets you to the point where you've lost your pursuers and are like going to ground. So you can narrate how you get to that point.
Yeah. So after a relatively spectacular chase scene, and I say relatively because it's nowhere near the level of Blues Brothers, if anybody here is familiar with the climax of that movie. I managed to cause my pursuers to like flip over with some relatively slick driving moves, and now they're off my tail, and now I just gotta get somewhere safe.
All right.
But before I can do that, I have to reboot, which I'm doing right now, I guess.
Yeah. I'm not sure if rebooting is meant to be like a literal thing that happens or just a like a narrative hand wave. But yeah. And as Chad is pointing out in the Roll20 chat, Blues Brothers came out in 1980, so it is some variation of it is definitely in the culture of the game.
Okay, no, I kind of said that just for anyone listening who may not have seen the movie.
Yeah.
It's a nice period detail, though. Let's acknowledge that. You picked a good one from the right time.
I was just watching it this morning, and I saw the car scene. Like, I don't know if you like, you know how in movie credits the producers always thank like all the top ranking officials in the cities and states and whatnot. You know, with Blues Brothers, they really meant it. Because like that car scene alone, and the climax of that movie is just like probably one of the most ambitious things for its time.
Okay. Right. Montag, you're up next.
Montag's gonna rush.
All right, go for it. Believe in yourself.
I have a peripheral.
All right.
The Rush mixtape is still blaring.
So that's 6 progress.
Wouldn't it be 7?
Yeah.
Oh shit, you're right. That is 7.
I negate the 1.
And you're also going to reboot? I take it?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
No, I'd rather just die.
I mean, you wouldn't die. You'd be captured or something, or you have to like do a combat scene by yourself, or.
No, I'm gonna reboot.
Yeah. All right, you reboot. So yeah, top of the round. Montag and Concerned Citizen both reboot. And then they both take 4 exposure from the top of the round. So yeah, you're both in the actually about the same waypoint. So you're both like in this position where you're like ready to go to ground. You've both like thrown off your pursuers for the moment, but like you hear alarms like police sirens everywhere. You can hear APCs rumbling down adjacent streets. The full force, or like half the force of the Freedom Fist that had been devoted to rounding up dissidents at the universities are now combing the streets, trying to find you. You need to find your way to safety soon, or you will be cornered and captured. But I think we also need to roll signal strength, because I've been forgetting to do that.
That we need to do, yeah. I think we forgot to do it last round.
Yeah, I'm going to roll it twice just to be good. So roll 1d6. All right, so that's one bump up. And then the next one, another bump up. So one more, then there might be a signal surge, but I'm not sure we're going to have another round. So, all right,
wow.
Who's up next?
Well, either one of us. Well, actually, we should just both go aggro and get out of the scene.
Yes.
Agreed.
Before anything else could possibly go wrong with a dice roll. But I'm going to take Shades' example for my reboot, at least, and say that, yeah, I basically kind of opened up a vent in my body to, like, you know, let the excess heat out and, you know, sort of cool down from overheating.
Nice, nice.
You know, like I lift up my shirt and like there's like a vent in like where in my left side that just just completely opens up. And so now that that is done, I'm gonna roll aggro and get the hell out.
Nice.
And
You.
yeah.
So tell me what
That's
that looks
great.
like in the fiction of the game.
All right, so I keep going. At this point, I'm probably like running through back alleys and trying to get, trying to, avoid. And and it's partially luck, and partially also my own due diligence and making sure that there are no, that there is no law enforcement near me as I run, as I make it through the back alleys and get. And just generally get to an area that's just, sparse, that's just sparse enough that there's only one Freedom Fist officer there, and I make a point to go around him, and I just get clear.
Nice, nice.
Nothing flashy, just expert maneuvering through New Orleans.
Okay. Montag.
Montag is rushing. Literally and figuratively in this case.
All right. Let's see the dice.
The dice are good. Finally.
Finally,
Need
right,
them to
when
be.
you kind of don't need them to be as much, they are suddenly fantastic. So yeah, tell me what it looks like as you escape and go to ground.
So, back in the parking lot, it was a Kawasaki Ninja that Montag stole.
Mm.
And so he's just been racing down the streets of New Orleans, like cutting over on sidewalks in this crotch rocket here, trying to evade every single pursuer he possibly can until eventually getting close enough to the receiver base and not wanting to draw any further attention. He sees a speed bump that's near the Riverwalk. And so he just guns it forward as fast as he possibly can, and he jumps off at the last minute, launches the bike into the water, while he ducks himself into the crowd itself and begins to start blending back in order to make his pursuers think that he tried to go into the river to get away from them. Oh, in actuality, he has been slowly sneaking his way back to Receiver HQ.
Okay. And of course, you are a cybernetic being that doesn't need to breathe air, so you could have just gone to the river, in theory, and
In theory.
walked home.
But
But
in theory, but Montag has seen way too many movies where the hero always throws the car into the water, and he's never gotten the chance to do that.
Right. All right, so you all make your way safely back to Resistance HQ. They've set up like a small little box TV and like the news story, like there's two major like headlines like scrolling past. There is like the lead story is of course about this ruthless terrorist attack on the Freedom Fist headquarters, and like they show that like clip of Shades splattering the Freedom Fist guy with their power.
Instant internal
Yeah, and it's
churn and terror, upset.
And they're talking about the carnage that these Soviet terrorists are wreaking on the country, and another story that's getting less airtime is how the university was subject to a riot at the same time, and how many like the regime's totally milking what happened for their benefit. They're talking about how like many esteemed professors and promising young students vanished after the riot. They're believed to be abducted by these Soviet terrorists. And of course, the people they're talking about, the people the regime was planning on disappearing anyway. They're just, like, milking it to make themselves look good and to make the resistance look like the bad guys. But of course, the people that matter know the truth. So I'm dragging everyone up real quick before we call it for the night. I'm dragging us over to the regime actions page. And what we had here was a sanitation operation. The regime begins to organize a blackout perimeter in order to discreetly massacre a large group. Once journalists are muzzled, communication lines severed, and points of egress are blocked, the death squads will arrive and begin their work. So while you did not counter the regime death squads directly, you did prevent them from having the, like, operational space to carry out their work. So if the regime had triumphed here, there would have been 1 loss to the international community and 2 loss to the local population on the strategic coin map. So you prevented that. People can tell that the regime is, like, lying through their teeth about at least the riot at the university. And you maintain the residence's good name. Great session, guys.
Yeah.
Well done, all.
That was
remember
really
next time
epic.
you rebooted.
Yes, 2 of you have rebooted for next time, so it's going to be a little increased risk. You all are going to get 11 more ups. And
Maybe 22 because we did 2 scenes.
Yeah, you're right. It should be 22. 22 ups. And let's give our good night shout-outs. Nathan, is there any person or event or organization you want to give props to tonight?
I kind of do. Over the weekend, I became the admin for a friend of mine who's a local New York musician. His name is Shola Aurora, and I became the admin of his Facebook page. He's a great human being and also a really talented musician. If you like dark ambient rock, you should check out his Facebook page.
Awesome. Hit me in the Discord with a link to the page, and we can put it in the YouTube description for this video.
Absolutely.
Awesome. Don, is there any person, place, thing, or organization you want to give props to tonight?
No props, but definitely shout out to the fact that people, especially United States people, early voting in many states starts tomorrow. It does in Texas. Get the fuck out to the polls.
Yes.
Make a representation here. We need a huge push in the midterms. I'm doing my part tomorrow. Please go out there and do your part.
Hashtag fucking vote, for sure.
Fucking vote. That is your best way of repeating the signal.
All right.
Amen.
Chad, would you like to give props to a person, place, thing, or organization that inspires you tonight?
I'll second that. Recognize everybody who's fighting against the erasure of so many things that, like, simply can't be erased because they're real. And I want to thank in particular everybody from the kind of global internet health and freedom of information scenes who's coming to London for MozFest this week, and for some of the especially awesome, super cool sessions that have a lot to say about things that are going on here and abroad.
Awesome. Well, I have been your game master for the evening, Michael Shuran. I'm going to go ahead and repeat hashtag fucking vote. If you are in the United States, if you're outside the U.S., you should also vote in your own elections, as you can best judge. And good night to everyone, and repeat the signal.
Repeat the signal.
Repeat the signal.
Repeat the signal.